At some times it felt like it was going to happen, then not. In the last couple of days, you felt, okay, it could. And then Tyson Fury's come on social media, as he does a lot recently, saying, look, it's done. The deadline has passed. That deadline was Monday, 5 p.m. Gareth, I know you've got your ear to the ground with this one, and I'm sure you've spoken to the people in the right places. Again, I remember asking you this question last week, and I said, gut feeling, will it happen? And I think your answer was yes. So I'm going to straight off the bat ask you now, again, gut feeling, will we see Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua this year?
I think I was still skeptical. That was my final remark last week. I'm still skeptical, but I think my heart and my head want the fight to happen so much that I want Tyson Fury to climb down and give them a bit more time to get it over the line. I'll be skeptical until we hear from Fury that it's on. I want it. I want it. It's back on. Monday was nonsense, because that was a self-imposed 5 p.m. deadline from the Gypsy King. It was no one else's narrative other than Tyson Fury's. He made the call out 3 weeks ago, or 22 days ago. Everyone ran around to try and get the deal over the line. AJ and his team agreed 60-40 split. Cardiff, December the 3rd, Principality Stadium. In the background, I understand, DAZN and BT Sport have agreed.
Yep.
As a joint broadcast, Matchroom and Queensbury are all fine together. Eddie Hearn and George Warren are getting on really well, getting things moved. Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn agree. Eddie Hearn put out a tweet yesterday saying, I agree with Frank Warren.
Couldn't believe it. I had a heart attack seeing it.
I don't want to believe that Tyson Fury declaring the deadline yesterday at 5 p.m. has given everyone a get-out clause from a huge bluff that's being played out. I want to believe they all want to get the fight over the line. Having talked it through for 3 weeks and seen Anthony Joshua on social media as well saying, yes, I'm going to sign it. It's just with the lawyers at the moment. And then that kind of strange rap video. They're both as kind of like quirky as each other. AJ puts out a rap video from I think from his car or wherever he was.
Yeah.
And Tyson sending out all these expletives. Everyone there, they're all big dossers, this, that, and the other. Instinctively, I'm still skeptical, but I know they're still talking. I mean, I heard back from Frank Warren last night after that, past that deadline, with them saying they're still talking. I've even heard from people today saying they're really frustrated with Tyson Fury's comments yesterday. Instead of just sitting back and having a little bit of patience, but he's so unpredictable. And that's part of the beauty of him, that we know that he's changeable. So we also know that if they come up with a contract in the next 2 to 3 days, he isn't going to say no.
Yeah.
He doesn't fear fighting Anthony Joshua. It's just he's impatient. And I think Anthony Joshua wants that lifeline. So I'm not further on from I was last week, still skeptical, but praying and hoping in my heart they get it over the line.
Yeah, look, I mean, Tyson Fury changes his mind every other day, doesn't he? I mean, I love the man. I think he's fantastic for boxing. He's a great personality in a sport which lacks personalities. But a few months ago, he's retired. And then it was an Usyk call out, then a Chisora call out, now an AJ call out. And as much as AJ is, I don't know if desperate for the lifeline is the right word, but as much as he wants this fight, you're not going to dictate to Anthony Joshua 5 o'clock and AJ is going to run and sign like, please, we need this fight. AJ is still, I think, the biggest draw in boxing, maybe with Canelo. Maybe Canelo's above him if you look at the numbers, but he's still a massive draw. And I don't think he's going to be dictated to like that. I still want the fight to happen. And I actually think the fight will happen. I think, and I think the options for either are not great. I mean, Tyson Fury's been talking this nonsense about Manuel Charr, which I'm like, we'll stop. Let's stop right there for a second. You're the number one heavyweight on the planet. You're not fighting Manuel Charr.
No.
And for AJ, it's, Otto Volin and Dillian White, which are good options coming off of back-to-back defeats, but I don't want to see them either.
No, Dillian White's been very quick to jump into the breach, hasn't he?
Very.
I'm available for it.
Which makes me feel like there's something going on behind the scenes with that one. He's come out and said it, and I wouldn't be shocked if they do a white Joshua as opposed to a white Otto Volin.
Yeah, and it's better.
Sorry, Volin Joshua. Sorry.
Yeah. But I get you. But it would be a shame because I do feel like this Fury Joshua fight is slipping between the fingers. The sands of time are slipping away in the hourglass, and if it doesn't happen now, are we really going to see a massive third round in negotiations later on? You know, the fact that DAZN are on board and they've signed with Joshua doing it, and they've signed a huge deal with him. And I do remember from my contacts, from sources within DAZN, that there was an appetite to even have Fury and Joshua this year, even before he fought Usyk for the second time, and even if he lost, because they saw value in that fight. I completely agree with you. I do not want to see Tyson Fury fighting Manuel Charr. It does nothing for Fury. It does nothing for the heavyweight division. Here's the situation, though, with both of them. They're so wealthy beyond their wildest dreams that they don't need the money to fight. It's purely an athletic thing. It's purely a pride in boxing. It's purely a desire to want to improve themselves. It's not just about a money earner for this. There's so much more there. And because they don't have to have the fight, weirdly, you have to have a semi-final and a final in a cup competition, don't you? Boxing has a weird algorithm like no other. It's weird science. It's not like any other sport. You don't have, the playoffs and all those kind of things. So there is a danger it could fall apart. I am a bit down about it today. It feels demoralizing. And I don't think it reflects well on boxing ultimately, that these things fall apart, where you've got major broadcasters and so many fans that they wouldn't have a problem selling out the Principality Stadium if they put tickets on sale 2 weeks before.
You know what my fear is, Gareth, with it? Obviously, we're hearing the date of December the 3rd, right? That seems to be the one that's nailed in. I mean, I'm seeing Joshua in Italy at fashion shows. Tyson Fury looks like he's training. Obviously, he hasn't ramped it up. It's September the 27th.
Yeah.
I mean, like for a fight of this magnitude, AJ, so someone needs to know now. So AJ can't be in Italy modeling for Hugo Boss. He needs to be in a training camp now if he's going to fight Tyson Fury in, what, 9 weeks?
9 weeks' time.
So
yeah.
It needs to be, like, when we spoke last week, we were like, well, okay, what's the deadline for this being given the green tick? And I think we both said end of the week.
No, the end of this week.
End of this week. Yeah, sorry, end of this week.
End of this week, yeah.
And then they both can go. So for me, like, it needs to be this week. It needs to be this week, and we move on. And, I think, again, AJ's coming off back-to-back defeats, so he's almost got a free swing at a heavyweight in the top 20 because of that. For Tyson Fury, you look at the options on the table, you look at the options in front of him, and if it isn't AJ, it's not great. Because I kind of done a kind of who can he fight list, and he's fought. Obviously, it's not going to be Wilder. It's not going to be Ruiz.
No,
it's not going to be Dillian White, AJ, Usyk. It's not going to be Jojo. Literally, he's running out of viable opponents that make sense.
There's only 2 opponents that make sense for Tyson Fury: Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk.
That's it.
That's it. That is it. And for AJ, the only opponents that make sense, if he really wants it, is Tyson Fury, Dillian White, Deontay Wilder, and maybe Joe Joyce. Those are the fights for me. Because the era is ending. It's not far off ending. It's maybe 2 years from its completion, this era, in my view. And it's not going to go on for the next 4 or 5 years. Tyson Fury's 34 now. Deontay Wilder's 36. Joyce is 37. Usyk's 35 or 36. They're not young men anymore. We're not going to see them going on to 40. It's not going to happen.
You're right. We've got at best 18 months to see them all mix it with each other, maybe even less for some of them. So you're right. They do need to get it on now. Very quickly before we break, a contract of that's obviously worth, I don't know how much this fight's worth, 100 million. I'm not quite sure.
80 to 100, yeah.
80 to 100 million. How complex is it? Obviously, look, AJ's camp's got it. What else could be in the contract that makes them stall a little bit? Is there anything like that we wouldn't know as fight fans that's kind of going on behind the scenes that would be a reason why this contract hasn't yet been signed?
Well, obviously, I'm not party to this contract, so whatever I say is not details from the contract, but the devil will be in the detail in this contract. Well, the complex thing was BT Sport and DAZN agreeing to do a joint broadcast, and how they work that out, because you've got red button for Sky on their not for Sky, for BT Sport on their you can just press a button and you buy it. DAZN's a bit different, so it's a more complex process, but they've obviously come to an agreement. Maybe they've come to an agreement that they're going to share the revenue from it, which is brilliant. The split was agreed, so that's uncomplicated. The venue and the date, that's uncomplicated. So it is down to the fine print in the contract, and it will have been through the lawyers. I mean, I bumped into a couple of lawyers involved on Saturday night. They were telling me nothing, unfortunately. You know, they were asking me what I was hearing, believe it or not, from the other side. So it must purely come down to the agreements that are around the image rights and all those details, and maybe any follow-up stuff that comes from the contract, which affects the future promotion of that fighter, whether it's if someone wins and the other side gets a deal in the next fight. There's all that kind of stuff. We're never going to be party to that. I mean, Eddie Hearn kind of hinted at there were some things outside the remit in the contract a couple of days ago, but we never know if this is bluff and bluster from all of these guys on both sides. I'm talking about everybody now. But from the outside, if they want to get the deal done, they just have to iron out a few things. I think it is optimistic. I think it is optimistic from both sides. But whether Fury, the bottom line is whether Fury has given everybody an out from a situation that they built into more and more, I don't know. I don't know. I just sincerely hope that in the next, well, today and tomorrow, that we get more words from Frank Warren particularly, and from Eddie Hearn particularly, and George Warren, they've actually moved closer, and that they're going to pull Tyson Fury back in.